Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Blowout. Blowout is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events and stories through correspondence reports, experts' opinion and stakeholders' analysis. Today we'll be looking at the following stories. Anambra State, Army assures Onitsha traders of security. Lagos State, Assembly bows to pressure, suspends Makoko demolition. And in snakebite story, Senate calls for mandatory antidotes in hospitals. Alleged terror financing, DSS arraigns Malami son on 5-count charge. And 2027 elections, APC group urges Tinubu to reshuffle cabinets. And in insecurity, US identifies Nigeria as a stronger partner against terrorism. We are open for advert placements, bookings and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1 and on X at Atlantic TV Nets. Watch us live on our website www.atlantic.tv network. We'll be going for a short commercial break. When I return, I will introduce my guest for today. Welcome back to Atlantic Blowouts. In the studio with me today is none other than Samuel Woji, a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning, Sonia.
How do you do?
I'm fine. Trust you well as well.
Oh, I'm fantastic, as always.
We can see.
You look good, by the way, but you're copying me. Copy. Anyway, let's get into today's discussions. 82 Division Nigerian Army has assured traders in the Onitsha main market and traders in other economic centers in the region of security and safety. This was contained in a statement issued by the Acting Deputy Director, Army Public Relations, 82 Division, Lieutenant Colonel Olabisi Ayeni, on Tuesday in Enugu. Ayeni said that traders and other law-abiding citizens will be protected with every necessary measure. According to him, security forces remain fully deployed on alert while intelligence-led kinetic operations are ongoing to dismantle the remnants of the indigenous people of Biafra, as well as ESN from their hideouts. He also urged all residents to continue their lawful activities without fear, shun intimidation, and embrace courage in the face of empty threats. The division's spokesman further said that the army stands ready to defend the people against those who are bent on ruining the economic prosperity of the southeast region, promising that the division will continue to work closely with civil authorities, traditional institutions, and other security agencies to ensure lasting peace and security throughout the state. Prior to now, the traders in Onitsha, they were hesitant in wanting to return to work on Mondays due to the sit-at-home orders and what it could entail should they flout those directives from the IPOP people or the IPOP members. However, due to Governor Solido's intervention, some would say strong arming them to return back to the market. People have been asking, it's one thing protecting the market spaces. It's another thing protecting the environment, that community. Because sometimes some of these traders are well-known traders. Onitsha markets, especially if you are well-to-do or you're prominent in whatever you're selling, right? It's easy for you to be targeted by these individuals. So if the market is protected, by the community is not protected, how do you ensure that the sit-at-home orders will be flouted by the traders? Do you think the Nigerian army are showing the people that we are going to root out these people from their hideouts? It's enough assurance for the traders and even the market goers to to reassure them or relay their fears in what could happen should they not follow the IPOB direction?
Well, before I answer your question, let me first of all congratulate the people of Anambra State for showing resilience and for showing commitment to growth and development by coming out on Monday. The last time I was here, I said something that the approach of the government of Anambra State, while unconventional, would most likely bear fruits. And of course, time has vindicated me, and we can all see the positive results of Soludo's unconventional approach. So let me applaud Soludo for taking the bull by the horn, and let me also applaud the people of Anambra State, the traders, for working hand in hand with the government to ensure that the insecurity in the region will be a thing of the past. Now to your question, I think we discussed something similar to this the last time I was here, where you spoke about the assurances of the government in providing security, for the people after or when they come out to the market. And I said that Soludo has taken practical steps to ensure that he provides adequate security, for the people of Anambra State. Now, when you look at, like I said, when you look at the activities of IPOB and ESN, you can see that most of their guys have been, the masterminds have been arrested, they're behind bars, and most of the lieutenants, the henchmen who do the whole running around have been killed, right? So you could see that the government has intensified these efforts to provide security for the people of Anambra, and with the cooperation of the Nigerian military, as well as civil institutions and traditional institutions, I am quite confident that the old sit-at-home saga will be a thing of the past and it won't reoccur. Because I said something, there's one time I said something when I was here. I said that crime is local, right? And most times crime and other insecurity activities are aided and abetted by the people that are domiciled within the political region where the crime occurs. Now, when the people vehemently refuse to indulge in anything that would aid any sort of criminal activities, you can see that the activities will just die a natural death. The people of Anambra has decided that they won't be part of the whole sit-at-home saga anymore, and that was shown in their coming out on Monday. I followed the videos on social media. I was very, very interested in seeing what will happen. No, I'm not even kidding. I was very, very interested. I saw the whole attendance thing and all that. And I think around 12 when I saw the crowd, when Soludo came to the market and I saw the crowd, there was joy in my heart, because I knew that what happened that day went beyond the people just coming out to the markets. It was a strong statement showing the world that Anambra people are united and they will work together with the government to resist any form of intimidation by non-state actors. So that's just what I have to say on this.
Okay, now let's take a look at the military, what they are saying. They want to flush out the remnants of the IPOB and then ESN, because we've noticed that as of Monday, the lawyer for the IPOB came out and said that they have denounced the sit-at-home. They're no longer, involved in sit-at-home. IPOB is no longer involved in sit-at-home.
Oh, you said so on Monday?
Yes.
After Soludo's approach?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Because some IPOP members also had come out and said that the Monday sit at home is still ongoing, especially in solidarity with the Onitsha traders whose markets had been shut down as of last week by the governor, right? So the lawyer had to come out and say, look, we are no longer towing this path. Do not listen to these people. Would you say that the army is right in trying to fish out some of the remnants? Because obviously we will still have some core believers in the IPOP agenda, especially now that Nnamdi Kanu has not been released and has rather been transferred to the northern parts prison. So obviously the members will be more interested in trying to bring him out.
Yeah, first of all, let me ask you said Nnamdi Kanu has not been released.
He's not been released. I mean, that's the reason for the
no, you're saying it like he was just arrested or he just put in jail and he has been sentenced, hasn't he?
He's been sentenced.
Has he finished serving out his sentence?
Samuel, I'm trying to say this. He's not been released because the people are agitating, or the IPOP members are agitating for his release. And it's not happening anytime soon because, like you said, he's been sentenced. And until he's served out his time, he's not going to be released. But they, for some reason, believe that if they should continue agitating the government and then halting activity, economic activities, as important as it is to Nigeria, they would definitely gain what they want, right? I mean, that's their approach. Now, my question is, the Nigerian army coming out to say, we are ready now to fish out these remnants. Is it a good assurance for the people? Obviously, be some people who would not want to follow the leadership. Like you said, most of the leaders have been arrested. The core members or the core agitators, some of them has also been killed. So those remaining who are still loyal to the cause, obviously they'll have one or two things up their sleeves.
See, Tonya, when you look at, there's a way you say things, I feel you're trying to paint black, white, and all that.
How do you mean?
The IPOP organization was prescribed as a terrorist organization by the Muhammad Buhari-led administration, due to the activities that were carried out, by them and some of their subgroups, like KSN and the rest. And you're using the word agitation.
I mean, that's what they're doing.
Really? So
yes.
The kidnappings and killings and the maimings are part of agitations?
Well, it started out like that, didn't it? Anyway,
yeah. Well,
my question
yes, let me just
answer my question.
Let's just go to your question. Well, you see, the Nigerian state has a responsibility for providing security for the lives and property of its citizens, right? Regardless of the body language, of whatever group that has been causing mayhem in the system. If the Nigerian army insists on flushing out members that are still actively involved in providing or wreaking havoc on the state, then the Nigerian army should perform its duties to the best of its abilities to ensure that the lives and properties of Nigerians are safe and secure. So I don't think there should even be a question. We shouldn't stop the security operatives from doing their job. We shouldn't do that. Anybody that wants to wreak havoc on the Nigerian state should be caught and dealt with appropriately to serve as a deterrence to others. So that's my take.
Okay, and finally, my last question on this particular topic. Would you say that Governor Soludo's approach is going to set precedents for other Southeast region or Southeast
Obviously, too.
Can you allow me finish?
Obviously, too.
To emulate.
Yes, it will.
And would that go a long way in ensuring that the rest of the IPOP members are fished out?
Yes.
Okay.
Soludo has picked the gauntlet, right? He has accepted the challenge of removing the scourge of the sit at home from his state, and as such, other governors will follow suit. So it's a no-brainer, really. It's a no-brainer. They were scared of politics and a few other things, but Soludo has shown that he's not really concerned about things like that. His priority, is to protect the lives and property of Anambra State, right? And I'm quite confident that other governors will follow suit, even if not immediately anyway, but with time, they'll join the train. I mean, Anambra State is a testing ground, and Soludo has passed the test. So I'm sure that other governors will follow suit.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next story. Lagos State House of Assembly has suspended the planned demolition of houses and structures in Makoko area of the state. Majority Leader of the House, Nohim Adams, made this declaration via a statement on Tuesday. Reports suggest that the suspension is coming after a series of protests against the demolition by various civil societies, activists and residents of the area. Adams, who spoke on behalf of his colleagues, explained that the House gave the directive to suspend the demolitions after a meeting between the lawmakers and representatives of the community. He added that the Assembly will work with relevant ministries and agencies to review issues surrounding the demolition. He also disclosed that all the stakeholders will be properly engaged in the exercise. Time and time again, we've seen situations whereby our leaders would take decision without considering the well-being of its people and then recount that decision after backlash from the public. I mean, in the case of Makoko, it seems likely the demolition, some parts have been demolished, right? Some people have already lost their livelihoods, where they live, where they stay, and what's not. Some children are out of school, they don't even have proper treatment should they get sick. And today, the House of Assembly is saying that the proposed demolition has been suspended, and then they want to have conversations with the stakeholders and residents to see the way forward. Shouldn't this have been the other way around? Have conversation with the residents, have a plan in place. Okay, after demolition and these people, where do we relocate them to? How do we ensure that they have a dignified place to stay while the demolition is going on? We understand that Makoko was a slum that something needed to be done about, but still, the way at which our government and then the people in power take decisions without considering the well-being of the people, is that not suspicious somewhat?
When you say considering the well-being of the people that are affected by Makoko, but they don't reside in Makoko, are they not part of the people as well?
The people that do what? Affected
by Makoko, but they don't reside in Makoko, are they not part of the people as well? For example, I know that the demolition started, there were buildings under the high tension. There was high tension, that went through the slum area, and there were buildings underneath it, which posed, risks to life and properties, as well as the electrical grid of Lagos State. And that's where the demolition started from. Now, the people that would have been affected if something went wrong, are they not part of the people of Lagos State?
I do get that, but I do get that.
See.
It's not about saying. It's not about saying. My question is this: when such policies are to be implemented, in as much as we're thinking about the larger population, every life, every Nigerian matters. Every Nigerian life matters. Okay?
I agree with you.
Yes,
every Nigerian life matters.
So we should not inconvenience one at the benefit of the other. What I'm just trying to say is that I'm not against the demolition. I'm not against what the government is trying to do. I'm an advocate for it. They're doing the right thing. But sometimes doing the right thing the wrong way, it's not right. Policies should have a human face. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Tonya, listen. When you talk about having a human face, you have to be very, very clear about what we mean, right? Like I said, you mentioned we should not inconvenience one for the other, right? But the presence of one is already inconveniencing the other. And that's the truth.
So that means that we should make the situation worse. Two wrongs make it right in this instance.
Is it really two wrongs?
Yes, it's two wrongs. Okay, because one party is inconvenienced and then we want to do the right thing. We should not think about the well-being of the other parties. Remember, these people are fisher folk.
Why are you focusing on the well-being of one party without looking at the well-being of the other party?
I'm talking about the well-being of everyone. I'm just trying to say that during implementation, should a process not have been put in place to ensure that while the right thing is being done, the well-being of these people are also not being neglected. I'm talking about, we have pregnant women in that slum. So, okay, because we want to renovate the place, the well-being of the pregnant woman should be neglected. We're talking about school children who will be out of school, no place to stay, no way to... Are we not making an already worse situation worse?
Well, see, Sonia, the government has um, a wider spectrum of engagements or considerations, you know, and most times, doing what is right and doing what is necessary might not be all that eye-pleasing, right? But then again, something has to be done.
Okay.
Do you understand me? Something has to be done. The Makoko issue is an issue that has been prevalent in Lagos State for a while now. I think something like this happened 2016-17, you know, but it was issues like this also arose, and it was also, you know, swept under the carpet. And then we are back here again. How long can this issue keep persisting? Something needs to be done. And why I agree that there should be considerations, right? There should be considerations for the people that are domiciled in that area. I also think that they could do a lot to help us.
And
or
who
to help
are
the, to help
they? Who are the
people,
you're referring to?
The people could do a lot to help us.
The people of Makoko.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the whole Makoko slum thing is an issue in Lagos State. For a state like Lagos, it affects the water body. I hope you're aware.
Yes, I'm aware.
It pollutes the water body, which in with the bigger picture is harmful to our environment. So you have to look at the environmental considerations, right? We also have to look at, you know, criminal activities that are prevalent in that area. You know, criminals go there to hide and all that. You have to look at that as well. You know, criminals that the Lagos State government are trying to fish out. You have to look at that as well. You also have to look at, like I said, the effects on the infrastructure system of Lagos. You know, I explained to you that the houses are under high tensions and all that, heavy high tensions. You know, that if it was affected, will have disaster impact on the economy of Lagos. And you know how important the economy of Lagos is to the Nigerian state and Africa at large. I mean, that's like the fifth. Lagos has the fifth largest economy in Africa. So you can see how devastating, you know, it would be if things go wrong. So the government, you know, has a responsibility to consider options, consider immediate actions, as well as actions that, you know, are future driven, right? So, like I said, why they do what they can do for the Lagos people, I agree that there should be some considerations, you know, for the people that are domiciled in that region. But saying that the government or the leadership are not humane, I don't think that's fair.
I didn't say, don't quote me wrongly, I didn't say it's not humane. I'm saying some policies do not have human face. Like I said,
If they don't have human face,
yes,
hold
on. I'm a big advocate of what the Lagos government is trying to do. I in particular feel that Makoko, the structure, the buildings or the houses on River, it has a potential to almost be like Venice, do you understand? Like as a place of tourism. I understand that. I know the importance of renovating that place. But my question is, or what I'm particularly concerned about is, while trying to do the right thing, we should not neglect the well-being of the people. I mentioned we have vulnerable people living in that place. We have old men and women. We have children. We have pregnant women. We have the sick, poor that to go to. I'm more interested. Welcome back from that short break. Joining us here again is Mr. George Deima. He just came into the studio. Good morning, Mr. Deima.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the traffic.
Well, it's one of those things.
Anyway, thank you anyways for making all the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's delve into the rest of the stories. Senate has urged the federal and state governments to urgently ensure the adequate stocking, availability, and accessibility of life-saving antidotes and emergency medicines in both public and private hospitals across Nigeria, following the rising cases of medical emergencies linked to snake bites, poisoning, and other forms of envenomation. The call followed the consideration of motion sponsored by Senator Idiyat Oluranti Adebule, APC Lagos West, which highlighted growing concerns over preventable deaths resulting from the absence or shortage of critical antidotes in health facilities nationwide. In its resolution, the Senate noted that Nigeria continues to record increasing incidents of snake bites, scorpion stings, drug overdoses, and other poisoning-related emergencies, all of which require immediate administration of specific antidotes to prevent irreversible health complications or death. Lawmakers expressed grave concern over the reported death of Infunanya, an artist who allegedly died after a snake bite in Abuja, describing the incident as tragic and avoidable. The state said the case exposed serious gaps in emergency preparedness and availability of antivenoms and other antidotes in both public and private hospitals. As part of its resolution, the Senate called on health regulatory authorities to make the stocking of essential antidotes a mandatory requirement for licensing, registration, and renewal of accreditation of private hospitals, and also urged the government to ensure adequate budgetary provisions and effective supply mechanism for public hospitals. The Senate also directed the Federal Ministry of Information, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency, to embark on nationwide public sensitization campaigns on the importance of prompt hospital presentation following snake bites, poisoning, and envenomation, while warning against delays in seeking medical treatment. I'll start with you on this one, Mr. Deima. It's quite unfortunate that we always administer medicine after death. In the sad case of Infunanya, this would have been prevented if we had such policies in place. She went to 2 hospitals before the 3rd one just for them to administer antivenom, and yet she still lost her life. Something that could have been easily prevented. One of the things that in a tropic or in a tropical country like Nigeria, where we are used to snakes and then snake bites, the first order of business for hospitals would have been stocking up antivenom. Unfortunately, that's not the case. What does this say about our emergency situations in hospitals?
Well, it is quite unfortunate and sad, the death of the young lady. I can see from and read from what the Senate is saying that they are going to take steps to, and they are calling for hospitals to be equipped with the medication. But for me personally, I believe in walking the talk. I don't believe in just talking. It is quite sad and also an indictment, because the Senate, they are supposed to provide, the Parliament is supposed to provide oversights, right? We have a Senate Committee for Health. And when you have committees, it's not just to sit in Abuja, and you have to visit the hospitals, the primary healthcare centers, and all that. I travel across this country. If you visit some of the primary healthcare centers, you will feel so sorry. It is not poorly maintained. It's in a dilapidated state. There is no critical, accessible medication for patients in emergency situation, right? So the government have to play their role. But also I want to appeal to our citizens, to the listeners, to our people. Health is wealth. And you don't have to wait until there is a death, then you start running helter-skelter. If it is, I remember when I was growing up as a little boy, there is this book we normally read, something when there is no doctor. you know, a kind of a health information. We need, and even in schools, we had first aid clubs. I don't know if some of our schools still have those clubs.
Red Cross.
Red Cross, where they teach you things about, you know, when there is an accident, how to respond, emergency situation, what to do, because the doctor will not be there all the time, right? And sometimes some people will live in the rural areas. By the time there's an emergency, from that position to the nearest hospital, life might be lost. But that first aid knowledge can save a life before the doctor comes, right? So we need more sensitization, health awareness in our schools, in our communities. We have a lot of youth groups. These are initiatives they should be involved in. It's not only politics, and there's so much politically active young people, but they should be also interested in the health, because their health is involved. Now, someone has passed on, everybody is talking, after a while, it dies off, and that is it. If you flash back when there was Ebola, during the Ebola crisis, the people were, you know, there was this heightened awareness on personal hygiene. It's not like people are not aware of personal hygiene. I remember then I was in the public transport, a lady was sitting by the side of the driver, and we know how our environment is, the heat, the man's sweat touched a bit of her skin, and she acted like the devil just came out from hell to touch her because of the fear that she will be infected with the Ebola virus. If you go to the banks, from the entrance of the bank, there is a basin, there is a hand sanitizer, there is towel. Even before they will attend to, even if they touch the money, are those practices still taking place? It's not, you hardly see it, right? Even in schools, personal hygiene is a continuous thing, and health is a continuous thing. So, as citizens, we should take our health seriously, and we should ensure that we don't wait until the last minute and then we have this fire brigade approach to solve the problem.
All right. And Samuel, how much do Nigerians underestimate snake bites? I know we think, God forbid, we are very religious people as Nigerians. We do not want to even envision that it's possible for snakes to be hiding in our homes, in our rooms, you know, in our private homes. But looking at how the country is situated, or where the country is situated, should we not be very much aware of our surroundings, notice that it's possible for us to have such emergencies, snake bites or snakes in our homes? How much do we underestimate this? To the point whereby we do not frequently fumigate our homes, we do not put adequate structures in place to prevent these atrocities.
Well, I don't think that Nigerians underestimate how powerful snake bites can be. I think that the average Nigerian takes adequate steps, you know, to secure their properties against snakes and other reptiles crawling around. I know that's for certain because I've seen people fumigate their houses. I've also seen people plant these trees, these plants. You know, there are some plants that detect snakes.
Yeah, snakes.
Yes,
yeah.
I've seen them, you know, in most houses, especially around where I stay. So I don't think that Nigerians underestimate, you know, how powerful or how deadly a snake bite can be, you know. But then again, there's usually this apprehension to, you know, confront the possibility of such a situation, and they don't put in other measures beyond the fumigation and the plants, you know, to be able to solve any eventuality that will occur. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
So I think that's where the problem lies. I mean, you can imagine the young lady went to what, 2 hospitals?
Yes, 2
and there was
hospitals.
not they didn't have the right medication for her. That's terrible. That's very, very, very terrible. When I saw the whole thing, I was just dumbfounded. I mean, how can hospitals not have medication for snake bites in a country like Nigeria? It's funny. You know, it's funny. I think one of them was a private hospital. Yeah?
Yes.
It's funny. You know, how can hospitals not have proper medications for snake bites? I mean, I always say it's better to, you know, prepare for any eventuality than to be unprepared, you know, for something. I think that's terrible. You know, I'm very sad about what happened to the girl, and I hope that as Nigerians collectively we can do better. Our hospitals should be better equipped. And I think I saw where the Senate, you know, said that anti-venoms and other medications, you know, will be a prerequisite for license and
License,
registration,
yeah.
and I think that's a good step. And I hope that they implement it to its fullest to ensure that a situation like this does not repeat itself.
All right, Mr. Daima, it's one thing for the Senate to implement. It's another thing for the hospitals to have the capacity for storage. If a hospital or if hospitals do not even have the antivenom in their cabinets, that means that they don't even have a plan put in place to store, because these antivenoms have stringent conditions for them to be kept, whole for use. Do they even have the capacity to ensure that, should they be provided with these antivenoms, they have what it takes to store them properly? We see, especially here in Nigeria, people hardly look at the expiration of products or how to properly store medication and food items and what's not. Not everybody have that knowledge. In our hospitals too, we've seen a high rise in our medication. Either they are expired, or they are the wrong medication, or they are fake. Now, what is the structure put in place to ensure that, should this antivenom be stocked up in hospitals, first of all, the storage is right, the conditions are right, and it's the right medication?
Yes, one of the structures that can be put in place is power supply. Because when you want to store things like, not just antivenom, there's some medications that require a certain degree of temperature to preserve it. And you don't just keep them on some certain environmental conditions to alter the effectiveness of that medication. And one of such I learned is the antivenom and other critical medications. And you know the state of our country with the epileptic power supply. So it's easy for those in the Senate to say, oh, you guys should step up and get the materials, get the antivenom. But if we want to put a structure that will help improve our health sector and the health and well-being of Nigerians, we must address the issue of power supply. Because there are many people, if you look at our mortality rates and look at many pregnant women during childbirth that die, some of them are taken, under emergency situation, they are taken to a primary care center. There might be no power supply. I've been in a situation where I had a family member that was in an emergency, there was an emergency, she was rushed to a hospital, there was no power supply. They were using torchlight, and then, so you can imagine, a split second, the person will die. So the doctors are not magicians. They need the right environment to work. So if we want to improve it, not just with the medications, we need to address the issue of power supply. It is disheartening that our hospitals are in the dark. Some of our children, they are born in hospital. The very first day they came into the world, it is torchlight they are pointing to them. So they grew up in that situation. So I think we must address power sector if we want to address health sector.
Okay. Now let's look at funding. Again, everything boils down to the government. You're asking for, the Senate is asking for the federal government to implement budgetary, consider this in the budget for the health sector. We've seen also in past situations whereby our health sectors is not being prioritized. Yes, if you look at the budget, the amount allocated to the health sectors education, as compared to other sectors like infrastructures and what's not, is way below what is expected. Could that be part of the reason why we have such cases happening here in Nigeria?
When you say infrastructures, are hospitals included?
I mentioned healthcare.
Well, building of hospitals is also part of infrastructure.
Well, building the structure of the hospital and not putting the right things in place, the medication, the equipment in place, then what's the need for this structure?
So how can you have the components without the building? But that's by the...
Sammy, you always turn my questions back to me. I'm supposed to be asking questions.
I
don't know if you're an advocate for the government.
No, I'm not.
No, okay.
I always like to be clear.
I just said the healthcare.
I always want to be clear.
So the question is the healthcare. It's not prioritized enough as compared to infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructures, we've seen situations whereby some of these political leaders are building flyovers and what's not. I mean, if you're seeing more schools being built or more hospitals being built, at least we can now think about the stocking and what's not. But when we talk about infrastructures, I'm talking about healthcare. Building a hospital is part of it, but in terms of healthcare system, even building the hospital, renovating the hospital, should we put that under infrastructure? With what you know in Nigeria. No, I'm throwing your question back to you.
What's your question?
With the way you know Nigerian to be built, to be built, infrastructures. When they are building infrastructures, do they build hospitals and then schools as much as they build flyovers and what's not?
So are you saying that?
I'm asking you.
Wait, are you saying that flyovers and what's?
So I mean, stick to my question.
What's your question?
My question is this: do the government prioritize healthcare in Nigeria?
Did the government prioritize healthcare in Nigeria? Well, Tonya, I don't know what you mean exactly by the government prioritizing healthcare in Nigeria. What I would say is that the government can do more, right, for the healthcare sector in Nigeria. And the Senate has strongly recommended to the federal government in the caption you just read that they should increase the budgetary allocation for healthcare in Nigeria, and I think that that's a good step.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to the next story. The Department of State Services, DSS, yesterday arraigned former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami San, on a 5-count charge of terrorism, financing, and illegal possession of firearms. Malami, who served as Justice Minister from November 11, 2025 to May 29, 2023, under the former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, was docked before the Federal High Court in Abuja, alongside his son, Abdul Aziz. The DSS, in count 1 of the charge, accused the former AGF of knowingly abetting terrorism financing by refusing to prosecute terrorism financiers whose case files were brought to his office as the AGF for prosecution. Meanwhile, the defendants pleaded not guilty to the charges that were read to them before the Child Justice, Joyce Abdul Malik. I will start with you on this one, Samuel. What caught my attention is that during his tenure as the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, he refused to charge or prosecute financiers of terrorism or known financiers of terrorism. But he still pleaded not guilty. I mean, you're not a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer. But using common sense, why would Attorney General of the Federation not prosecute financiers of terrorism in Nigeria, knowing how dire the situation when it comes to terrorism in Nigeria was as of then, during Muhammadu Buhari's tenure from previous presidents, Jonathan's administration, till now? Does that say to him being complicit to terrorism charges being brought against him?
Okay, I'm going to be careful here because he has never been convicted or acquitted.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want to, preempt the courts. But then again, it's funny that case files of terrorism will be on the desk of the Minister of Justice, and he will refuse to prosecute. It questions his integrity and the credibility of his office, and it propagates the notion of selective justice. I mean, one would wonder why a matter that is very sensitive as insecurity, owing to the fact that Nigeria has suffered terrorist attacks, heavy, not just terrorist attacks, heavy terrorist attacks, in recent years. I think for about 10-15 years we've been under the siege of terrorism. And then issues like this come up to the desk of the Minister of Justice, and he declines to prosecute them. It's a terrible one, really, and it raises a question mark on the Ministry of Justice, and who should be the Attorney General of the Federation. Of course, he's well within his rights to plead guilty or not guilty, and he'll have his day in court, and he'll either prove his innocence or the prosecuting counsel will prove their case. But if true if true, if what the charges are, if he is convicted of the charges that are laid before him, then it's a terrible thing that somebody that's supposed to be the symbol, of justice and fairness, will be complicit in something of this nature. That's just what I would say.
Okay. Mr. Daima, I like to follow the trail, money trail. How important is the DSS coming for the financiers of terrorism in this instance, in the fight against terrorism in Nigeria? Because we've noticed that some of these terrorists or bandits, or however they want to call themselves, brandish very expensive weapons, high-tech weapons that even our security personnel, army personnel do not have access to. But somehow, these people that look malnourished, are not educated, are able to come into possession with these fancy weapons that they use in carrying out their atrocities. So, one will ask, how important is the DSS going for financiers in terrorism to the fight against terrorism in Nigeria?
Well, actually, it is very, very important. As an economist and someone who is very much interested in finance and integrity, I believe that when you talk about terrorism, it's quite it's a global challenge, and it's not just a Nigerian problem. And when you want to tackle terrorism, you must address their financiers, those that are backing them up. If you look at the body, the human body, we have the circulatory system and the heart. And without blood flowing through your veins and your body, you are as good as dead. You're not living. And so the financiers of terrorism is just like the circulatory system of the human body, and then the heart pumping the blood. If you want to address the issue, the root cause of the issues, you must look at those financing them, because it's more like a network, right? And terrorism financiers, you can't limit it to just the Nigerian territory, because when you look at terrorism, it is transnational, across borders. So that's why it is important to have international cooperation. For example, when you look at the ECOWAS sub-region, many West African countries are facing a lot of threats from terrorist groups. And from North Africa to West Africa to border security to quite a lot. Look at Niger Republic. Nigeria is sharing borders with Niger Republic, with Cameroon, with Benin Republic, with Chad from the Lake Chad Basin. And these countries are very critical, even when the DSS is addressing the issues of terrorism, financing. They also have to collaborate with their partners in other West African countries, and also within the ECOWAS sub-region, as well as the African Union and international partners, like what is happening right now between the United States of America and our Nigerian military, where they are having cooperation, even the U.S. African Command, ensuring this security partnership with our security leaders in addressing fundamental security threats to Nigeria, both on the religious side and the terrorism side, sharing intelligence, helping them to train and giving them the infrastructure and technology, because it's a network, so it requires a holistic approach.
Okay. Samuel, a high-profile individual like Malami being involved in terrorism financing, what does that speak to the trust of the people? Because this was a man that had, when it comes to implementing justice in the country, had the highest office, one of the highest offices, Attorney General of the Federation, a man that was supposed to stand for the people, protect the people, and then deliver justice for them, has been fingered in such a sensitive situation as terrorism in Nigeria. What does this speak to the people's trust in our leaders?
Well, Malami's, if proven to be true, if the allegations are proven to be true, it's terrible. You know, somebody as important in the Muhammadu Buhari's administration, complicit in activities like this, doesn't really speak well, for the leadership of the nation, owing to the fact that this issue of terrorism is something that has bedeviled, the nation for years to come. I think that if proven to be true, if the allegations are proven to be true, then it's disastrous, and the effects on the trust of the people would be to be broken, to be broken. But then again, on the other side, I'm also looking at the willingness of the current office of the AGF to uncover and unravel, all the skeletons that Malami has in his closet. I mean, Malami was a member of the APC, and the government prosecuting him is the APC. So I think that that would help, to regain the people's trust in the leadership. This guy is one of us, yes, but he did something unspeakable, and we are going after him hard. I think that's the message that the government is trying to pass, and I think that if convicted, if Malami is convicted, if he's proven guilty and is convicted, I think that it will help to assuage, the angers and the fears of the people.
Okay. Taking note from what he said, Mr. Daima, APC, Malami is in APC, right, under Muhammadu Buhari's administration, and he held one of the highest office position then. And now we still have APC in power, prosecuting one of their own. He believes that could serve as a level of trust, or a level to regain the trust of the people. However, on the flip side, how can the people, or would the people really trust the power that be to not look at this case through political lens, to not use political affiliation and loyalness or loyalty to try and then sweep the case under the carpet? Because we've seen time and time again where such situation has happened, is that there will be some technicality where he will be let go, or the prosecution or the court would suspend or prolong the case until the people lose interest or even forget that we have such a matter in court.
Well, I won't totally agree with him. I have a little bit of different opinion. Because when you talk about trust is hard to build. And if you look at the Malami's case, it's in terms of percentage, even though, yeah, he's a member of the APC, yes, look at statistics. Look at how many percent of the political class or the elites have been prosecuted and actually brought to justice. It's quite minimal. And so trust for the people, there's a disconnect between the leadership and the citizens of the country. Because, there is a saying that justice for all, right? It's difficult to have a perfect justice system, but when some people are so privileged and so powerful that they feel they are above the law is meant for those that are they're seen as the lower class and all that. If we really want to build trust, then our leaders should be more accountable, and we all, even as citizens, because it's not just about the leaders, because the leaders, they are a reflection of the citizens of the country. And so it's not just this case that is going to build that trust. Because when you look at, I don't just want to go deep into that. If you look at the present state of the country, there's a lot of questions that is being asked, especially with resources and all that. So the government will have to work more by also being accountable. Now remember, we talked about the health issue. Look at medical tourism. If you do a research and you will find out how much Nigeria is spending on medical tourism, you'll be shocked. We are spending a lot of foreign currency on medical tourism. How many presidents of other countries do you see visit Nigeria for medical help? It's not like you should not visit other countries, but it's baffling. It's mind-blowing that you are a governor, you've been a governor for 4 years, you want to go for 8 years, you don't have a functioning, well-equipped hospital that can attend to major health issues without flying out, right? So that's part of trust we're talking about. So trust is not just a one box thing that you just tick in one box. It will take a while and a process over time for the people to build that trust in the system.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next story. Support group within the road for ministers were due for immediate removal. The group accused announcement cracks than governors. If not performing well to their ability and for the people concerned that it will work against them come 2027 elections. So again, personal interest. Mm-hmm.
They are in one way or the in their duties to the best of their responsibility and gives the government a bad name. So I think that why they are concerned about their party affairs, they are also concerned about the people because they know the people won't vote them back if they don't provide good governance.
So why wait until now? 2027 is when? How many months from now? 10 months from now?
Are we talking about the time duration?
I'm asking why now? Why didn't they make that suggestion? If they're really concerned about the people, why didn't this suggestion come as of last year? Because they said it's long overdue. So
But you
why wait until it's long overdue
But you
to
can
make this suggestion?
Obviously, from the statement, you could see that talks were ongoing. Promises have been made. No, it's not.
Which statement?
You read it now.
I don't remember. Can you take me back?
You can read it yourself. He said that there have been an agreement for about $4 trillion they are about to be paid, isn't it? So that means discussions have been ongoing, right?
Okay.
And the reason for their complaints, obviously, is the delay in the discussions or the delay in the implementations.
Okay.
Rather,
And how that's going to affect their chances come 2027 general elections?
Prioritizing the impact it will have on the people. Look at what they said. They said that the contractors are yet to be paid. These are contractors who are supposed to provide critical infrastructure for the people. So first of all, it's governance before politics.
Okay. All right.
Is that fine by you?
I'll leave that to the viewers to answer. Mr. Daima, would you say that our politicians are always politician? Like someone rightly mentioned, that there's time for politics and then there's time for governance. But unfortunately, here in Nigeria, it seems they are intertwined. We do not have a time for politics. We don't have a time for governance. It's like as soon as they hit office, they're already preparing for the next elections. Everything they do is calculated based on, okay, what can I do to win the next elections? Not how do I provide governance, good governance for the people. When or how does this look to Nigerians?
Well, there's a difference between those that are hungry for power and those that are hungry to lead. There's a clear difference. It's crystal clear. Those that are hungry for power are interested in acquiring the power, getting the power, and then using the power for their own personal and self-interest. Politics is important in a society. Our distinguished guest here said. But governance is even going to help you do your politics well. Take for example, I am a local government chairman or a governor, and I campaign. You play the politics. What is the essence or the goal of politics if it is not to address the fundamental issues of the society? Politics gives you the platform, but what is in your plate? It's just like a hungry child cries to the mom. I say, Mom, I'm hungry. Give me food to eat. He comes with a plate and she dish the food and give to the child. The question is, after you have gotten the platform, what is in your plate that you will serve to the people? So that's the difference between those that are hungry to lead and those that are just hungry for power. Now, looking at this issue with the contractors and all that, and the political group calling the president to sack some ministers, leadership requires evaluation, right? If you are a good leader, you don't need to wait for a political group to call on you to sack A, B, C, D. As a leader, from time to time, you evaluate yourself, your cabinet. There should be evaluation. It helps you to checkmate and track the level of your growth and productivity with the office or the power you've been given. It helps you to be accountable and it helps you to produce results, because if you can't track it, you can't measure it, then you are not having anything. So it's important that if we focus on that picture of leadership, it will help us to be evaluating ourselves from time to time.
Now, Samuel, Mr. Daima actually made a key point. Why would a government, or in this case, the president, wait until his political group to call his attention to underperforming ministers in his cabinet and then ask him to do the needful just so they can win the next election? I mean, one would think that, like Mr. Daima again rightly mentioned or pointed out, that the government, the president will periodically evaluate himself, his ministers, to ensure that the promises made to the people is being delivered. Would you say that what this group have done is rather expose this government to the expose lack or the lack in the government in their abilities to perform for the people?
Well, when you look at the actions of this government in recent years, you will see that this government evaluates itself. There have been cabinet restructuring within these first 4 years, haven't they? And some ministers were removed, some were reshuffled and all that. That was evaluation. Even more recently, we could see that there was an evaluation in the security sector. You understand me? Now, we are not privy to the information that the president has. We can only speculate as spectators outside the system. We're not in the system. We don't know what goes on there, right? Now, there have been discussions ongoing. There have been an agreement of payments of about 4 trillion naira stated by the group, right? And the president has obviously given directives. Now, we don't know the hiccups or the nature of the bottlenecks that has prevented the directives from being implemented. And obviously, the group doesn't know as well. If they did, they would have mentioned it. Now, they are speaking, as members of the president's political party, stating that the contractors and what have you need their money. But sometimes governance, no matter how we might like to talk it, is not as simple as ABC. There are circumstances, that might, delay certain actions. It does not mean that the government is not prioritizing them. So, like I said, this should not be an indication of leadership or an indication of poor leadership. This government has reshuffled this cabinet within this is about 3 years now, right? And it has ensured that sectors that are not performing, should be enhanced. They have done that. Nobody can deny that they have not done that, right? So this should not be an indication of bad leadership or indecisive leadership, because of the statements of, the group. The group just looking at ways to secure, their victory through proper governance. And you misquoted me, right? I said that politics comes before, politics is linked to governance. You understand? But meanwhile, the both of them can coexist. Governance is politics and politics is governance. You do politics to provide governance, and while you govern, you're politicking. Your activities while during the period you govern speaks for you, either if you're contesting for a second tenure or you're bringing somebody. And that's why you see that a governor or a president or whosoever who has governed well will bring somebody that this is the person I want to succeed me, to his party members and to the general public. And you see people, support that person, not necessarily because they know that person too well, but because of this integrity of the person that had governed before him. You understand me? Yeah. So the issue of politics and governance, they are not mutually exclusive. They can actually coexist, on the same time. And it's not just peculiar to Nigeria alone. Even in the global system as well. You can look at the Americans. In fact, the way the president of the United States of America tweets is as if he wants to come back for a third tenure. He publicizes his activities almost every day. Why is he doing that? I mean, he can't, constitutionally, he's not allowed to go for a run for a third term. Why is he doing that? He's building trust in his system, which is the Republican Party, in view of the next elections. Okay. So while he's governing, he's politicking.
Okay.
There's no country where these things there's no society, where you would see politics and governance being isolated. The both coexist, they're intertwined, they coexist, and they are used by leaders to achieve their interest. Okay. So that's just what I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Speaking of United States Africa Command has identified Nigeria as a key partner in efforts to counter the growing threats posed by ISIS and Al-Qaeda affiliates. This is as the command said violent extremist groups are intensifying attacks across the Sahel, placing increasing pressure on states in the region and threatening to destabilize national capitals. The commander of the U.S. Africa Command, General Dagvin Anderson, stated this on Tuesday while responding to questions from journalists during a monitored virtual media. Anderson said these developments underscored the urgency of regional and international cooperation, noting that AFRICOM has continued to engage with willing and capable partners to address the expanding threats. Highlighting Nigeria's role, the AFRICOM commander described the country as a strong example of effective partnership in West Africa. He explained that this cooperation includes intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance support, as well as intelligence fusion to enhance Nigeria in ongoing counter-terrorism operations. I would like to start with you on this one, Mr. Deima. After the December 25th operation in Nigeria by the U.S., some people have been of the view that if the U.S. can, in such a record time, be able to dismantle some of the stronghold of these terrorists, there should be a continuous partnership with the U.S. to ensure the safety and well-being of Nigerians, especially in the fight against terrorism. Do you think that having such a strong partnership with the U.S. can ensure that not just Nigeria, but the Sahel, as mentioned here, is secured? Because you also mentioned that we are bordered by different countries, some of which have already been, been influenced by these international terrorist groups and are slowly also infiltrating Nigeria as well. So do you think this should be a continuous partnership for Nigeria?
Yeah, very important. Security is international partnership because you have migration, you have many issues to address. And when you look at North Africa, Libya, the crisis that took place in Libya, the flow of small arms and light weapons, and through porous borders and all that, the United States play a very critical role. They have a lot of experience in intelligence gathering, fighting terrorist groups, technology, and all that. So Nigeria stands a lot to benefit from her partnership with the United States. They also have the African Command in Africa, and they also are playing a lot of role in terms of partnering with many countries in training them to tackle the issues of terrorism and all that. So we stand a lot to benefit from the partnership, but not just the United States. We can also benefit with collaborating with other African countries, especially the North African countries and the West African sub-region as a whole, because Nigeria is a very strategic country in Africa, and we don't have sufficient manpower. We have the population, but in terms of manning our borders, there is a lot of gaps and porous and openings, right? So we need partnership with other African countries in ensuring that, because see, terrorism is not just rocket science, like it doesn't just happen. It goes through a process, right? And then the border security is very important. If you want to tackle the issues of terrorism, you're talking about these terrorist groups, you have to address border security. And you have to address border security by collaborating with your neighboring countries. Just like the United States is doing with Mexico, they are doing in their continents in terms of even boats that are loaded with drugs and all that. They are trying to ensure that they partner with other countries in their region to stop the flow of drugs, weapons, and terrorist groups into their country. Okay. The United States is also fighting the same thing. So it's a partnership business.
All right. And finally, Samuel, before we wrap up, people are concerned about US's strategic interest in the affairs of Nigeria. We do understand that we need to cooperate with them. We need, because they have more ways of gathering intelligence faster and then reliable intelligence than we do, allegedly. But then again, what could be their strategic interest in partnering with a country like Nigeria?
Well, when you look at the origin of this whole partnership, you could see that the U.S. tone, at the beginning was not palatable and was concerning to, those of us that are spectators of international space. And let me, first of all, before I proceed, commend the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the leadership of His Excellency Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu for turning a potential rival or enemy into an ally. You could see that the movements, the statements of the United States moved from coming into Nigeria, guns are blazing, into strategic partnership and collaboration, and that could have only taken place through diplomacy. So I commend the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for engaging in diplomatic mechanisms to ensure that they get the help of the United States of America. Well, the United States of America is a major player in the international and the system, and of course they have their interest, in countries countries like Nigeria, and I'm sure that the Nigerian government have put in measures in place to ensure that they partner effectively with the United States. The United States has been acting like a world police, in recent times, especially with the coming of Trump. And you can see the recent actions in Venezuela, and that can only be possible, by the amount of influence that they have in the system. So I think that the partnership with Nigeria is one of its ways, to show to the world that they are strong and they have the capacity, to partner with any society to ensure global peace. All
right. This is where we wrap it up on this episode of Blowout. Thank you, gentlemen. Samuel, thank you very much. Mr. Deima, thank you as well. Always a pleasure. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on an X, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Open conversation comes up shortly. Don't go away. Thank you for watching. I am Antonia Asabel.